Sorry. So when we look at Learning Outcome 5, in Learning Outcome 5, it is asking us to produce academic work. Now, what is academic work? An example would be when you look at, say, for example, writing an assignment, writing a report, writing an article, that is an academic piece of work. Why is it a journal? Yes, and that is an academic piece of work. Now, why is it an academic piece of work?
Because it's been written by a person.
That is correct. So when we look at this in terms of academic piece of work, is because the work has been formatted, it has been written in a set specific format. You've used formal English as a language. You've used some communication skills which allow that document to be, demonstrating something which is produced as a specific, say, the work to address maybe a problem or an issue. So let me give you a simple example. Now, when I say, let me give you a simple example by showing you a document. And we are going to stick to, an academic research document, which is an assignment. So I'm going to try and show you, say, one, assignment. Give me 1 second. Let me give you this example just to, make it concise and related to what we are discussing. Just 1 second. So let's look at producing an academic piece of work, and that would be, say, a research project. Okay. So what I would want to do is maybe show you a research project which has been produced by a student. Okay. And this research work which has been produced by a student, why is it an academic piece of work? Because it has been presented in the form of a report. It has lots of different forms of, information which have been presented, things like chart, graphs, tables. It is compiled in, in a way wherein the work is very well referenced, structured, and it follows a particular, format which has been defined by the university to help conduct the research and then produce a report as an output. So if I look at this particular piece of research, which is, a research project that I'm opened, it talks about the student wherein he has studied the impact of digital media on energy drinks and consumption by youth. That means he's chosen a, research topic to do research on how are the young people consuming energy drinks, in specific, the Red Bull, for example, as an energy drink. And this has been done primarily for a case study in, for the youth of Pakistan. And if you see this particular report, let me just open it up again, just as an example. I can try and see if I can open a PDF. So this is an example. If you see, a report which the learner has actually produced. It's got a nicely drafted table of content which summarizes most of the, way the research has been done. There's an abstract which has been written. There's an acknowledgement. As you can see, it follows certain chapters. There are some clear headings. There is use of bullet points. As you can see, there is a structure of the, research project or the dissertation which the user has actually defined. And then he's done a literature review. I'm just going to scroll through some of the pages quickly. Now, as you can see, the results of the study have been published using graphs. There are tables, which are showing information summarized in a nicely produced structured report. And then towards the end, the learner has referenced all the work, as you can see. He's created a bibliography or a list of references which is alphabetical in order, as you can see. And then towards the end, they've also put in an annexure or the questionnaire which has been used to debate, this research project. and everything has been provided. Now, this is an academic piece of research because it has been presented to a supervisor in the university. It has entailed 3, 4, 5 months of work wherein the student has gone and done research in the market by taking surveys, questionnaires, asking and meeting the customers, maybe the company officials, and then produced a report which basically presents the information in a very meaningful manner. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you say you need to produce an academic piece of research, what it can be, if I just quickly write it down here for the sake of simplicity. So it says, this learning outcome says produce an academic piece of research to a professional standard. So if I look at this, produce academic work to a professional standard using the existing draft. Right? So this is the task. So what we want to do in this task is, if I go back to what we have looked at in our Word document, the research topic that we produced and the Gantt chart and everything, we want to be now presenting it in a very professional standard. How do we do it in a professional standard? Right? So how do we do this in a professional standard? One, I would look at some sort of structure of the document. Now, structure of the document could include things like font size. It could include line spacing. It could also include use of pictures or images, or diagrams. It could include references, etc. Now, this would mean that I am going to structure the document in such a way that it is going to be presentable to an audience. So and if I just ask you, why do you produce a PowerPoint presentation? So let me put a situation. As a manager, when you're working in a company, say you're working in Samsung, now your manager is asking you to produce a presentation which is going to be given to employees on the 1st of November, right? And the contents of the presentation need to present things like how's the company doing, what is the sales, what are the key factors, and how it is reacting to competition. So your manager has given you a context. That means they've given you some background to why this presentation is required. Now, if you're asked to produce a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, why do you think you will produce and how would you produce this presentation? Any idea?
You produce it because it's more visual for whoever's learning towards, it's more visual for the learner.
So let's say if I just slightly modify this, why do you you're asked to produce a report on Samsung mobile phone sales for the month of September, right? And the audience is sales managers globally. Now, so this is the task which your manager has given. Okay, your manager has asked you to produce a report on Samsung mobile phone sales for the month of September 2019. Now he has told you that the audience are going to be sales managers globally. So there's a global conference happening, and in that all the sales managers from all the countries will come. Now, if he's asked you to do this, would you produce a report, an Excel sheet? You would produce some you will produce a presentation. What will you do? What will you produce? And why will you produce presentation? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, why do you think presentation is going to be the most appropriate document for this audience?
Is to attract them and not make them bored of it, That's correct.
So here you will collate and
Yes.
pool data from various sources. So various sources would mean you could have graphs, images, pictures,
Yes.
you will have quotes, you would have photographs of some of the top performing employees, and industry data from industry research reports, which is going to say that in the month of September maybe 300 billion mobiles were sold, out of which Samsung sold 79 million, and this is how our market share is. Now, because you are going to present a number of different forms of information, it is going to be reasonable to choose a PowerPoint presentation to present this to the audience, because this will be, as you rightly said, more appealing, will draw the attention of the audience, and it will be easy for them to understand when this is being produced.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Correct? So here, what you have to do is, in this Learning Outcome 5, it is asking you to produce an academic professional standard work using your existing draft. So what we have to do, the research draft that you are producing, which I am going to just open again, which is what you're going to produce. You can actually then format it, give it some structure, and then present it as task 5.1 also. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. And what I'll also do is I'll quickly show you a student work which has been produced, just to relate it from a point of view of a bit of reference.
Right.
Let's look at a piece of work which has been produced by the learner. Let me just share the screen and I'll do the work. 1 second. So here, if I show you an assignment which has been done by one of the learners on academic and research skills, if you see, and if I just scroll down to task 4 first, so that we can relate it. So in task 4, as you can see, the learner here has created a bit of a research topic and a plan. Yeah. So here, what the learner has actually done is primarily talked about a bit of why research is to be done, and then they have taken about a bit of a topic to explain what is the importance of doing a research with a business topic and how she's going to go about it. She's drafted a bit of a research to say that I'm going to do this using primary data which is going to be collected from various sources, and the research is going to be qualitative in nature, and she's given a bit of a summary here. And then she has summarized this, not a very good summary, but she has summarized this in the form of, say, 1 or 2 paragraphs to say that this is the piece of academic research which I produced. And what she has done in Learning Outcome 4, whatever she has decided that she will study as a topic for research has been summarized in 1 paragraph here in the Learning Outcome 5, task 5.1. Is that okay?
Yes.
Let me try and pull out another example just to reiterate that what can be done in some cases, just to show you, as a bit of another work. So this, for example, is more in line with what we were discussing. So is this visible? Is this clearly visible, Wu?
Yes.
Okay. So if I look at this, just as a Learning Outcome 4. In Learning Outcome 4, the student has chosen, a topic in research, which says, I am making an academic research project on target market for a food chain. The research project has 3 parts: literature review, research methodology, and data collection. And what the learner has done then is divided it into 3 parts in the second task, using appropriate referencing. So he or she has defined the topic of the research, has done a small literature review, as you can see, and then excellently he has also expanded that into a research methodology. that how am I going to collect data. This is going to be through interviews, verbal interviews, phone discussion, and he has basically said that after that is done, I have collected the data and I'm going to present this, research. So whatever referencing the learner has done, as you can see, has been put across for referencing, and that covers task 4.2.
Okay.
Right? Now in task 5, what the learner has actually done is produced an academic, presented it more professionally. So whatever was produced in 4.1, 4.2 has now been presented in a structured manner, in a more structured manner. So more concise, more to the point. So as you can see, introduction, a bit of literature review, research methodology, data connection, and pretty much references. I don't see much of a difference, but most of it has been produced and put this into task 5. Is that okay?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So if I was in the student's place, what I would have done is I would have included a bit of a timeline here, and research methodology and data collection I would have done, in task 5. What I would do here is, just as an example, I will put this timeline which is required here, and I put the references which is also required, right? And that would have helped me essentially, complete learning outcome 4. For learning outcome 5, what I would have done is included data collection and research methodology, and that would have allowed me to put inputs for task 5. So here, producing it academically, I'm taking it a step further by not just writing the same thing again, introduction and literature review, but I have included research methodology in order to complete my research topic, show that I've conducted the research, added data collection, and then finalize the referencing list to complete task 5. Is that okay?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
in the merit task, it is asking to say, present this work orally to a professional standard to an audience. So here, once you have produced this, we are going to do another session wherein you are going to talk about your research to me, and I will make some notes. And if you are able to answer my questions and explain the research topic, which is task 4 and 5 that you've done, you would have achieved a merit in this case. Is that okay?
Wicked, wicked.
So in this case, what you're looking at doing is you're basically looking at producing it first, and then there is a bit of a viva or a viva voce, as we call it. That means there's a bit of a discussion happening with your tutor to present what you have studied as a topic. And if you're able to present it verbally to an audience, like we are doing it on a session like this, you would have achieved a merit.
All right.
Okay. Now, in order to achieve a distinction, if you are able to present this in a PowerPoint presentation, then that would allow you to achieve a distinction. So let me show you an example of that as well. So sometimes we see students will actually produce their work in the form of a PowerPoint presentation for, say, I would, for in this case, I would say for an audience, say, for example, a panel, or when we are discussing about the Samsung sales conference for global managers, what they are looking at doing is they're trying to, you've been asked by your manager to produce a presentation which would be, which would be primarily for the global sales managers. So if you produce a PowerPoint presentation, that would mean that in that case, you would have, produced something which is for a professional audience, and that would mean that you have achieved distinction because you are presenting it in a very summarized form to an audience, which will, find it much more pleasing and appeasing to understand and, correlate with the topic of what has been Done. So let me share the screen again, and I will show you an example of, a distinction. So in this case, one of the students has actually, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So in this case, one of the students has actually, converted his research report or a research project into a small summary of a PowerPoint presentation. So as you can see, he's done a title, he's done the hypothesis for the study, the reasons of investigation, aims and objective, and he has basically defined how is he going to go about it. Not exactly in the same fashion as we have discussed in the Word document, but he has kind of summarized his research proposal into a presentation to say that this is how I'm going to go about it. And that would help you to achieve, a distinction. Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Any questions on this?
Not so far.
No, I don't.
Okay, that's great. Okay. So this is an example of how you will achieve and complete your learning outcome 5. So learning outcome 4, you complete it, you draft it because it is talking about a draft. So don't include the research methodology and the data collection in it. But when it comes to task 5, learning outcome 5, what you need to do is include the research methodology and data collection and then finalize that piece of research that helps to achieve both the tasks. Is that okay?
Yes.
So let's look at any questions on this so far?
No, no.
Okay, so let's go to the next learning outcome,